this episode, we're talking with one of the most exciting up and coming guitarists on the planet right now. And that's no exaggeration. His name is Matteo Mancuso. He hails from Italy, of all places. And he is redefining technique, tone, and what's even possible on the guitar. If you don't believe me, go on YouTube and watch him. Look up his music, especially his new album, Route 66, which is the main reason why we were chatting. I caught up with him literally while he was on the road. He was in his tour van and he clicked in from there. It's the reason why you might hear a little latency or the picture freezes up and you still hear the sound, which is the most important thing. But we talked about the tour, his history, his approach to music. Of course, we talked about the new album, like I already mentioned, and it was a fun interview. It was great talking with him, and I think you're really going to love what he has to say. As always, if you don't mind, please hit like while you're listening to it, and if you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe. Just hit that subscribe button. It's not going to cost you anything, but it helps us out tremendously. And hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and mention it. Regardless if you're listening to people who you might think are my competitors or whatever, hey, we're all in this just to have fun. But whether it's them or any other people you listen to or watch on YouTube or on the podcast, please hit the subscribe. That helps them too. And so we're all in this just to have a lot of fun, but it's nice if the subscriber base is such that we get enough of you that it actually makes a financial difference. So anyway, enough about that. So without any further ado, here is my first of what I hope are many more interviews to come with the amazingly talented Matteo Mancuso. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care.
Hello.
Hello, Matteo. How you doing?
Great, thanks.
Good deal.
Hello.
You must be in your van, huh?
Yeah, I'm currently traveling right now. Yeah.
I see. Where are you
Mhm.
heading to?
I don't remember, but I have to see it on the list.
So,
Yeah, we probably
some
we last night we played in Charlotte, and now today is let's see, today is 19, right? Durham. We
yeah.
play in
Yeah.
Durham. Yeah.
You're playing where?
Durham. It's written Durham.
Oh, Durham, Raleigh, Durham. Yeah. So
Okay.
you're just a few hours from where I am. I'm in the Smoky Mountains at the moment. So, but
Uh-huh.
well, man, I'm glad we finally get to talk. I've been following you for a while, ever since the Journey album. So for me to be able to
Oh,
finally talk
thanks.
to you it's an honor and a pleasure. So thank you for taking the time. Um, I am aggravated that I couldn't catch one of your shows, though. My schedule just wouldn't allow it. But maybe the next time you come to the States, maybe I could be able to catch one of your shows then. So anyway, is your dad traveling with you too, or is it just you and the band?
No, it's just me, the band, and the technicians. We are currently 7 people because we
Wow.
also have a driver for America. Yeah.
Well, good deal. Well, listen, I'll cut to the chase. I know you probably want to rest up some more since you probably getting tired of traveling so much. But I do want to introduce my viewers and my followers to you, so that hopefully I can help grow your fan base a little bit. But I always love great guitarists, and when Steve Karras turned me on to you, gosh, I guess it was at the last album that you did, The Journey. I was a big fan. I love great guitar work. I'm not a musician, so I play vicariously through you guys. So, but so when did, just so the people can maybe get a little bit of a idea of how you are. You grew up in a very musical family, correct? Your dad was a guitarist. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
What
Um,
kind of music did he
yeah,
play?
he's more. Let's say that he plays a lot of different kinds of music. He was a very popular session player back in the 80s and the 90s, especially in Italy. So, and he was also a producer as well. So he worked with a lot of musicians, especially from Italy. Um, and he plays pretty much everything. He plays jazz, plays rock. So the fact that I had him from the start at home, it was a great advantage for me because I had the chance to play with a professional musician from the start. And I started playing when I was about 10 years old. Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
29, so it's quite a long time that I play guitar. And of course, you showed me the first chords. I learned the first songs thanks to him. So yeah, my father kind of introduced me to all this musical world.
When did you realize you wanted to do it professionally versus non-professionally?
Well, it started off as an hobby, that's for sure. I didn't realize that this was the thing I wanted to do until I was, I don't know, maybe when I was at high school, from 15, 16 years old, probably. Because before that, it was just my favorite hobby, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I immediately realized from the start that I had some kind of predisposition for music. So I gravitated towards guitar because it was one of the few things that I was good at back when I was a little kid, you know. My grades weren't really good beside music. So of course, and there were people telling me, "Oh, you should do this because you are already so good at." So I kept doing it until I realized, okay, I enjoying it. This can become a real work if I concentrate on that, and if I, of course, if I study and everything. So and plus, it was fun. If it wasn't fun for me, I wouldn't be here. You know,
Yeah.
the fun element needs to be there. If you're enjoying yourself, if you have fun doing it. I mean, there was a period of time where I was playing probably 8 hours a day, every day
Wow.
during my teenage years. And that didn't felt like work. It felt like it was the right thing to do and I just kept doing it. So yeah, I think that was the main reason why and of course I consider myself extremely lucky because I get out playing my own and uh, I, of course, I'm really lucky because of that. So I will keep doing this, will continue to work, you know.
Mm-hmm. I know you get asked some of these same questions a lot, but I have to ask for the sake of my viewers. Who were your earliest influences on the guitar besides your dad? Who did you really like listening to a lot, and how did they influence your playing?
Well, I started with, all the traditional rock bands, people like Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple. Jimi Hendrix was probably my first guitar influence. I learned all the first tunes I learned on guitar were probably Jimi Hendrix tunes. I I don't have like I don't have a good memory, so I probably don't remember the first tune I learned, but I remember playing Foxy Lady, playing Voodoo Child. I remember playing All Along the Watchtower and this tune. Uh, Led Zeppelin 4, uh, you know, Deep Purple, Child in Time, Barn, Smoke on the Water, of course. I mean, all this kind of traditional rock stuff were my introduction to the electric guitar. And many people don't know that I started with the electric because many people assume that I started with classical guitar because I play with fingers, but I actually started with the electric guitar with fingers because I didn't know that you should use a pick for electric guitar. So I just thought that every guitar was meant to be played like that. And I always saw my father playing classical, but I didn't know that there was this difference in technique. Um, so I started off like that. later on, of course, I discovered about the pick, but I was too lazy to restart again. Um, so I just kept playing with fingers. Yeah, and that's it.
Interesting. You're getting a lot of praise from a lot of very great guitar players. I read, some names that were singing your praises, like Di Meoli and Joe Bonamassa, Steve Vai. I I mean, that's got to blow your mind a bit to hear some of those well-established artists thinking you're a pretty darn good guitar player. How does that strike you?
Well, of course, it puts you in a good mood because it's incredible to see and hear heroes of mine and people that influenced me a lot talking about me. I remember like the first time it happened. I remember I was watching a Steve Vai video and he was talking about me and it was mind blowing. And it gets you, of course, you are extremely happy with it, but at the same time, you feel a little bit of pressure. So the thing I realized almost immediately is that I wanted in, to concentrate on the original material rather than concentrate just on the guitar. Also, I started to, I guess, write a little bit more compositional material after all these things have happened. And but yeah, it's amazing to hear these guys that are heroes of mine talking about me in this way. It will be unforgettable, of course, and they are heroes of mine as well. So uh, yeah, it was priceless, especially yeah, Steve, Al, and Joe Bonamassa are all legendary players. So yeah, I will remember this forever, probably. Still remember the first day I listened to Steve talking about me. I would never forget it. Yeah.
I can imagine. A lot of young players, it seems like. Again, I'm not a musician. I used to dink around on the guitar when I was a kid, but I never went anywhere with it. But whenever I walk into a guitar store or something and there's kids in there playing on guitars, it seems like they always want to try to just play fast. And that's good. That takes talent. But your playing, I notice, has both phrasing and melody. You have, you don't play in a rut. You have a lot of variety in what you play, how you play it,
Oh, then.
phraseology and things like that. Where did that balance of playing between speed and phrasing and melody come from? Was that a lot of your dad's influence, or the other musicians you were listening to, or all of it?
Well, it was a combination of especially a lot of musicians that I was listening to. There were periods of time where I was listening to a lot of guitar heroes, let's say people like Inve, uh, John Petrucci, Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, all these kind of guys, and I just wanted to replicate that sound. Um, Talking about let's say, the culmination of different things. Of course, when I was a teenager, I was always playing extremely fast, trying to play as many notes as I can. We all had that period of time where we wanted
Yeah.
to play extremely fast and precise, and that was a good gym. I should say that was a good training. But at the same time, I wanted to improve also my improvisational skills because I was hearing a lot of the jazz cats playing these wonderful lines, and I was so fascinated by the sound and by the fact that someone can improvise this kind of stuff. So I always gravitated towards the fusion stuff because I was fascinated by people that were able to play through the changes. Uh, and I wanted to be able to do it too, and my father was kind of a listening guide to me rather than a pure teacher because I was in the time and I was listening to a lot of virtuoso players. And and he said to me, "Okay, these virtuoso players uh, are extremely good, of course, but you should listen what came before these players." And I kind of got back in time, and I started to listen Django Reinhardt,
Mm.
uh, people like, of course, Wes Montgomery, one of my biggest influences as well, George Benson, Pat Metheny, all these kind of guys. And I was so fascinated by their improvisational skills that I started transcribing and copying note for note some of their solos. And that was so useful for my vocabulary and the way I phrase now, because it's a culmination of, various different things. Eric Johnson is also one of my favorites. It was more finding, you know, I wanted to have choice. It's almost like speaking in English. Right now, I'm improvising in English, and the more I listen to it and I learn about it, the more I have more words available to speak to you.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's basically the same thing with music and improvisation. I wanted to have a good, like, vast vocabulary in order to uh, deliver the message as good as I can, and deliver the message with a good knowledge, and let's say with enough variety to the solos. Because I don't like to be stuck in a rut. And the moment I feel like I'm in a rut, I always try to learn a solo from other players or other
Mm.
musicians that I like, because that's okay, for me, it's always refreshing to get another perspective uh, compared to mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. There was an artist, I don't know if you've heard of him. I tell guitarists about him every once in a while. I've been following him for almost 50 years now. A gentleman by the name of Phil Kagi that you might enjoy. He has a very vast style. Does a lot of, when he plays live, he does a lot of layering and looping with just him and his acoustic or him and his electric. So you might like listening to his stuff. He's all over YouTube and he's got a lot of albums out. But that might be somebody you would enjoy learning more about too. Um, as far as your playing, do you mentioned improvisation and such, that do you prefer when you do you feel like you thrive more in a improvisational setting, or do you like more structured compositions, or do you like starting with structured compositions and then start improvising? Where do you thrive and feel more free at
Um,
in your playing?
my favorite combination is having arrangement, well structured arrangement, but inside of it you have space for long solos and improvised sections.
Ah, yeah.
That's the let's say the formula that I like to have on my music right now. Like if you listen to the second album, for example, uh, the arrangements are very precise, let's say. Like there's like a lot of phrases in unison with the bass, for example, a lot of arrangement idea that are written out, of course. But at the same time, I like to have some always I always like to have space for improvisation, because if you improvise, there are gonna happen things that you're not gonna be able to replicate if you don't.
Right.
So that's the magic of improvisation, is the interaction between the musicians that happens in real time that you can never replicate if you write out the exact notes. It will never work. So that's why improvisation is so crucial, especially to my music. That if you take out this element on instrumental music, it will just sound boring. So that's why if you're talking about improvisational music and instrumental music especially, it needs to have element of improvisations. Otherwise, to me, it will not sound as good.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
agree.
it's combination between both. It's always because you don't have lyrics here, you don't have the singer. So if you remove the dynamics, it's it's not gonna work.
Right. I get that. Well, very briefly on this new album of yours, you see behind me here, I love what I've heard so far. How was this album different for you to put together as compared to the journey?
Well, it was a faster process. So this album is a little bit more instinctual, let's say. The journey, I never had a deadline for the journey. So I was free to, you know, roam around and just take my time. But I took too much of my time, let's say. So for this album, I wanted to have, because for the first time I had a deadline with the label, and that was, I thought it was a bad thing first, but when I finished the album, honestly, it was beneficial for me because I consider myself the type of guy that needs to have a deadline in order to work. Otherwise, I will procrastinate. So that was the main difference. And then of course the arrangements are a little bit more, in my opinion, interesting and more complicated, but in a bad way, let's say. I think a little bit more clever sounding compared to the first album. And there's more light guitar, uh, more, let's say, a palette of sounds compared to the first album, where maybe I used 4 or 5 different sounds for the whole record. Meanwhile, on the new record, I used really a wide variety of sounds, especially like recording acoustic guitars, classical guitars. There's one tune in particular that this is the only tune that came out before this tour that's called Isla Feliz. It's classical guitar, gypsy guitar, and electric guitar at the same time and on the same song. So it's quite interesting to hear. So yeah, I think it's a little bit more, uh, let's say, uh, something. I hope then that I let people decide if we better than the first one or not. But uh, to me, it sounds great. Yeah.
Which song on the album would you tell people to listen to as kind of a calling card for the rest of the album?
Well, that that's a tough question because I like to have always very different songs from one another. So if you listen to Isla Feliz, for example, the only song that came out, um, is not gonna represent the rest of the album because it's the only Latin-oriented song. So if you listen to that and you are expecting other songs like that, they're not gonna be on the album because they are so different from one another that you're and that's what I like about my work is that there's this unpredictability of style, that it lets me have the freedom to do whatever I want, even on the next records. I mean, as a matter of fact, on on the next records, I think I will record way more with the classical guitar, for example, compared to the electric, because it's what I like to do most of the time when I'm at home. Um, and and it gives you the freedom to choose whatever style because I don't like to label music as rock, jazz, country, fusion, and everything in between. I don't like to label music like that. I like to have this kind of mindset where there's good music and bad music, and that's it. If it excites me, I don't care if it's Latin or whatever. It's, I think it's better to have this kind of mindset because it lets you have more freedom on composition. So there's no one song that I will pick in particular. Isla Feliz would be a good choice, uh, to see what I'm doing right now, even melodically speaking. There's Black Centurion, for example, because it's the most rock-oriented song on the album. Solar Wind as well is a good song. Yeah, probably these 3 songs are the ones that I consider myself the more satisfied, let's say. Solar Wind, Black Centurion, and Isla Feliz. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, what's on your agenda for the rest of the year? You're still touring. What's next after this tour?
What's next? Well, we will probably do. We will for sure do an European tour starting from April. We have a Japanese tour coming up. On I think will be end of May. And beside that, uh, we have some gigs in the summer already. But this year will be pretty much centered around the second album. It will go out in on April 24th, so we have tons of time to book the gigs and play live. I mean, I this year will be probably the year where I will play live the most because I have, of course, to I have an album coming up. We have tons of new tunes. We finally have some new material to play live because we didn't change the set list since 2023. So it was a long time that we were playing always the same songs. So even for us musicians, uh, it was so refreshing to finally have some new material. That's why I would like to play live as much as possible this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then starting from September, I will probably gradually play from September to December. Uh, because I will probably be wasted by August, and I will for sure need some rest and maybe start composing some new stuff. Who knows, maybe if, next year I'd like to have a different project or maybe a quartet. I'm thinking about like expanding the trio, that fourth element. That
That'd
would
be
be
nice.
a good idea, especially for the songs I'm playing now. Some of the songs they don't work in the trio setting because you need to have the harmony background. So yeah, we would probably add maybe a keyboard player or a piano player next year. Who knows?
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, that's the plan.
Good. When do you think you'll come back to the United States again?
August, we have a East Coast tour coming up in August. I still don't know how many gigs we will have, but we will probably do Boston, New York, Washington D.C., all, all the East Coast area. Because right now we are doing other areas. We started from the West Coast. We started in LA, and then we did all things nearby California. And yeah, so August will be the next uh, the next American tour. Let's say only in the East Coast.
Okay. Well, I'm going to keep an eye open where you're going to be at, and then hopefully I can be able to catch one of the shows and be able to meet you in person. And I hope we get to do a lot more interviews together because I love your music and I want to do my part to help promote your work. And just just keep up the great work and keep yourself healthy, okay? Because I want to hear you for many years to come. All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
I
Well,
appreciate it.
listen, you
Uh,
guys stay safe, and we'll talk to you again down the road.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good
Take
day.
care. You too. Bye bye. This has been another fun filled episode of Boomerocity with your host and producer, Randy Patterson. The theme song for Boomerocity is Roll the Dice and is recorded and used by permission from Quentin Hope. Quentin is spelled Quinten, and Hope is HOP as in Paul E. And you can find out more about Quentin Hope and his music at quintenhope.com. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerocity name, logo, and content is copyright protected. Segments may only be used with written permission by Boomerocity and or its assignees. Inquiries should be directed to input@boomerocity.com. Copyright 2026.